surveillance video, parking lot, surveillance video outside the mall, inside the mall. They want to be able to identify who this was. Witnesses are probably helping police. There's so much going on at once. There are multiple lines of investigations underway. Now, if this individual got away, they want to figure out, was it on foot or a vehicle? Once they have the make, model, and more importantly, the license plate, they can be going to a company like Flock Safety or another tech company that does that automated license plate reader and try to create a path and home in on where they went. But all of this needs to happen quickly. Usually, if it gets into the hours later stage, it can go on for a day or two or even more, as we've seen. I mean, Tom, I've been sitting with you here on other shootings in the past year, unfortunately.
Yeah, and just one thing to consider here, this is a giant mall. Potentially one of the state's biggest malls. What kind of complication could that pose to investigators who are on the scene trying to clear all of the areas? We do know, we heard from previous reports that many of the staffers at the mall were slowly trickling out. So presumably there are parts of the mall that are clear, but what kind of complications or challenges does that pose to law enforcement?
Great question. This is very challenging because you probably have hundreds of people who are either inside the mall, working in retail, working at a food court. This is a huge structure, probably multiple structures. You also have the parking lot. They're going to have to clear all of this. And if you have citizens there, that can actually be dangerous, because if someone's moving quickly or has a backpack and is acting strangely, police sometimes in these cases can get diverted. It's confusing. So it's a really terrifying situation for the people inside the mall, both the staff and people who were just there eating or shopping. And it's a very complex investigative environment for those police.
And, I want to get to some statements. We're probably going to get those in a second, but I want to toss another question to you right now. It's not lost on me that there was this thwarted mass shooting in New Orleans involving a former police officer. No doubt investigators are at least going to be potentially ruling that out as a connection to this. But what do you make of that?
Well, in the last 24 hours, we've had quite a bit of activity on the crime beat. You had this Florida arrest of the former police officer you just referenced, who was traveling from North Carolina, planning, my sources tell me, to go to the Jazz Fest to carry out an attack. Now, you've just had this mass shooting in Syosset in a New York City suburb. You had a father and son arrested, and I've just reviewed footage from outside that house. There were bomb-making materials there. So this is a really active last 24 hours. Now, it appears to me to be random. I don't see any connection at this time, but the FBI is involved in both of these cases, and they're certainly going to try to run that down and rule that out or pursue any lead if it looks like they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And this information obviously trickling across social media all the way up to the governor's office. I want to read you a statement that we have from Governor Jeff Landry right now. He says, "I am aware of the active shooter seen at the Mall of Louisiana. I am in coordination with law enforcement, and we will update as we know more. Please avoid the area." Very important there. "Sharon and I are praying for those affected and are grateful for a quick response by our law enforcement officials." As we've been looking at all of the video coming out of this, you can see that there is just a huge police presence, multi-agency, as we reported. Plenty of emergency first responders on the ground to tend to those people who are injured, some whose condition we don't really know right now. As you mentioned, they are going to be looking through a lot of security footage for this to make sure that they can get a sense of where this shooter or potential shooters.
Right. They don't even know if it's one or two at this point. They're still chasing that down and working both theories. And so, yes, there are surveillance video cameras inside stores, in the hallways. I mean, we've all been to these malls, right? It's kind of part of the American experience. And so you are going to have a lot of surveillance video, but sometimes that can be tricky because you're blinded by data. You don't know where the suspect went. And so you're just flooded with so many cameras. But that's why it's important to have so many people on the scene, as we saw there in that footage. So it's not just outside. You have got people working computer screens, combing through. They're using AI technology to comb through. Now the AI can actually detect a gun. It has the software to look for a weapon, a long gun, handgun. You can program those to do just that. So they're going to be relying on AI, but they also have a lot of manpower going through all of that data, which includes the video.
And, that's one really important point. I want to actually pull up the ATF statement and then circle back with a question about what they're going to be looking for when it comes to the weapon or weapons being used. ATF New Orleans posting on X right there on the screen. Breaking news: ATF is responding to the scene of a reported shooting at the Mall of Louisiana in Baton Rouge. For updates, follow the Baton Rouge Police Department, which also just is a tip of the hat to the fact that these are multiple agencies looking through this. So when they're running forensics on this, no doubt they're going to be looking for bullet casings. What else are they going to be looking for evidence to piece together exactly what types of weapons or weapon was used in this incident?
Well, first, some of that surveillance video, if they do show the gunman with the weapon, that is going to help them. They're going to already start to prep themselves. Okay, we are looking for an AK style rifle, or we're looking for a Glock, and they're going to be ready for that. Casings are important, but then I have to be honest, you've got to find that weapon. Now, the suspect might have stashed that weapon. They're going to be looking for a weapon that might have been tossed by the suspect. We've seen that happen plenty of times. Sometimes a suspect is ready to wrap it up in a towel or some article of clothing to obscure a weapon. These are all scenarios. Many of these investigators, at least the ones that have been doing this for a long time, they have experience with this, and they are running down those scenarios that have happened before. Those are real possibilities. Now, if these suspect or suspects fled in a vehicle, they might have kept those weapons, and it's just a matter of time, really. Given all of those cameras, I do feel confident that they will be able to track them down. But I will say there was a case in Georgia a few years ago, and it actually took a couple of days to track down this shooter who opened fire in a large populated area, very similar to this small shooting.
Yeah, I should also mention the other mass shooting that happened in Shreveport over the weekend that claimed the lives of so many children.
Yes,
just
children.
A tragic thing that has become all too common in the United States. We're far from a motive. We're far from even knowing who is behind this. But what are the potential profiles that someone might be looking at as an investigator?
Well, if we're looking at precedent, right, it's more likely than not to be a male, somebody who was feeling disenfranchised, didn't have a lot of opportunities in life for whatever reason. Maybe it's domestic that set this individual off, or maybe it's someone grasping at whatever the grievance du jour is. We see that so often where someone will grab onto an ideology. Sometimes it's an extremist ideology, but almost always there's a mental health component, or there's just, something bad has happened in their life that has set them off, coupled with a pre-existing mental health issue. And unfortunately, we see that over and over and over. But we've talked about this in the past, just in terms of domestic issues. Now, in a mass shooting like this at a mall, sometimes we see that a family member will carry out a targeted attack on another family. Generally, that's in the home. Historically speaking, if you look at the data, sometimes it's at a big crowded place, so it might be that, but it also might be someone who just wanted to wreak havoc. Like we saw just today, we had an arrest with somebody who was planning to head to carry out an attack at the jazz festival. Yeah,
and another thing that, is important to dig into for these investigators, of course, is any sort of digital chatter, online things, which,
100%.
No doubt play a role when they're thwarting these mass shootings.
They're already going to be looking around and combing and using AI to kind of suck up any data that is out there on social media, any kind of threats that were made publicly. But once they catch the suspect or suspects, that's when they're going to go through all those devices. They want to know if anybody helped plan this, aid this, supported this, or if they knew about it and didn't report it.
That is going to be so important and something we're going to be closely monitoring in the hours ahead. I want to get people up to speed right now. What you're seeing on your screen is a heavy police presence in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at a mall there. The mall one of the larger ones in the state. Reportedly, this incident happened from the second floor of a food court. Police say at least 2 people are in critical condition. At least 6 people may have been taken to the hospital. The shooter is believed to have gotten away. Both the FBI and ATF have released statements saying agents from each agency are on their way to the scene. But just those photos right there earlier, as we were monitoring this feed, you could see that there were people gathering outside, presumably people who were either working at the mall, people who were unfortunately at the mall at the time of this incident. A lot of confusion there, a lot of fear in the faces of the people who are on the ground there. But you can see from those images right there, if you look at that dome in between those 2 palm trees, that is the area that we are talking about where the food court reportedly is. So the shooting happened not far from that dome that you are seeing in the very center of your screen right now. And then you are seeing this heavy police presence, what appears to be a pretty secure perimeter around the mall. But the question remains, where is the shooter? And so Anna and I were just talking actually about how surveillance footage is going to be a huge factor in this and could potentially give clues not only to where the shooter may be, but also what weapons were used and potentially how this terrible scene unfolded. And so, Anna, when I just want to get viewers up to speed who may not have been tuning in initially, when we're talking about a multi-agency investigation here, what exactly draws in the ATF, the FBI, local and law enforcement to make this coordinated investigation?
The fact that this happened at a crowded mall, you have 6 people injured. It could have been more. Opening fire in a place like a mall, that immediately triggers ATF. You've got the local FBI field office that's going to either come immediately or first place a call to the sheriff's office and the local police department, but they'll probably be on their way within a minute. And so you are seeing, we were watching that footage, I saw vests from various different agencies, bulletproof vests worn by everybody. Now, these guys work together. They come together in incidents like this. So they probably have a history. They might have done some training together. So they probably know each other a little bit, but it's the units that work together all the time, day in, day out, that really know each other well. But we, as in the United States, police departments working with federal agencies, there has been a lot of training and improvement on coordination. So I imagine here down in this area, they have a lot of practice doing this together, because the worst case scenario is you have a breakdown in communication when you have a case like this. I wanted to bring up one other thing. This surveillance video is important. The technology is a key component, but equally important is for people there, witnesses who might have seen something, to immediately call a tip line. And someone might have already walked up to an officer or an agent that they saw and said, hey, I saw something. That is very important. When police and federal law enforcement agents solve these cases, it's a marriage of technology and people stepping up and providing statements about what they saw. Those 2 things working in tandem, that's when you get a quick resolution.
Yeah, any lead here could provide law enforcement with the information
Absolutely.
they need in order to figure out exactly who did this. You're seeing some images right there. That's from our CBS affiliate, WAFB in Baton Rouge. I want to toss over to them briefly for live coverage of this incident. So let's listen in.
A lot of police activity. There are still quite a few BRPD officers that are out here in the parking lot of the hospital. So yes, that is correct. And again, several ambulances been pulling in and out of here for the past hour.
All right, Perry Robinson there for us outside of Our Lady of the Lake Hospital. Perry, we'll check to you for a second. Now we've got Police Chief TJ Morris speaking now. Let's go to that.
Sarah Benzino, Brandon Coley, Jablonski Auto Body, LLC.
Hey, Dion, this is Liam. We are waiting for, it looks like Mayor President Sid Edwards and Chief TJ Morse walking over to us right now. We're going to get some more information, so stay tuned on that.
I can talk it through. Let me know when we're hitting your line.
The police chief and the mayor headed to speak with us at this moment so we can find out more of what happened with this situation at the mall. They wanted us to reiterate that this was between 2 groups of people at the mall. The shooting happened near the food court. Let's listen in.
Okay, ready? All right. We're hearing just one shooter or multiple. What can you tell us at this point?
So right about 1:22 this afternoon, we got reports of shots fired here at the mall in the courtyard, the food courtyard area. We had a massive law enforcement and medical response come. Thanks to all our responding agencies, everybody from the Sheriff's Office, the St. George, State Police, and even FBI came to help to respond to this. We got here very quickly, secured the scene. No more active shooting going on. We started treating victims until EMS got here. EMS got here very quickly and were able to transport victims away from the scene within minutes. What we found out looking through surveillance videos, it looks like it was kind of a targeted, two groups of people got into an argument inside the food court and started shooting at each other. Unfortunately, there were some innocent people that were in the area that might have also caused some rounds. Right now, we have 10 victims at local area hospitals, some transported by EMS and some arriving by private vehicle. Definitely our hearts and prayers go out to all the victims involved in this, various level of injuries, and we're going to keep giving y'all updates as we get them.
How many critical, Chief?
Right now, we don't know. We have, at least a couple of them that are in trauma going through surgery, so we don't have an exact number right now. We'll give you those numbers as soon as they become available.
Parking lot's still full of vehicles. Are you still working to get customers, people who were in the mall at the time, out of the mall?
Yeah, so as we get some resources kind of freed up, we're still, going through the mall, making sure we don't have people that lock down and hide and make sure that they're safe and okay. And we're going to start trying to just evacuate the whole area. We had a big crime scene set up in case the suspects were on feet in the area, looking in canals. We got helicopter, drones, all those kind of resources. So we had everything locked down, not wanting anybody to leave, but we're going to start opening that up as soon as we can.
Are you guys
any idea how many weapons that were used? You said shooting at each other. Possibly.
Yeah, we don't know right now. We're looking through all the surveillance video and coming through crime scenes processing, looking at shell casings that were on the scene. Anybody that has any help, please plead out to the community right now. If you know anything, please call Crime Stoppers. You can remain anonymous, 344-STOP. If you have any information that you can give us.
Do you believe there's any threat to the public at all?
No, right now, there is no known threat to the public. Right here is the safest place in Baton Rouge, in this area. But as we start developing suspects, we're going to run down every single lead that we can to get these people in custody. But it does not appear to be just a random act of violence, but a very targeted kind of disagreement between two groups of people.
How many people in those two groups?
Right now, I don't want to kind of release that information because it's really preliminary.
Do we know the age ranges of the victims at all?
No, not right now.
So what would you say to just the people out there watching or waking up seeing this or looking at this here in their lunch hour and just kind of really worried about what might be going on with Baton Rouge?
Yeah, so first thing is just keep these victims in your prayers, right? Second thing, just know that Baton Rouge Police Department and all these agencies out of here, EMS, Fire Department, everybody that responded, we are trained for this, right? Unfortunately, it's one of the part of the jobs that we train regularly on, responding to an active shooter scene like this. Hats on to all the law enforcement that came, stabled everybody, EMS that got here and quickly transported the victims to get the care they needed at the local area hospitals, and that we are going to control this. Mayor?
Like to say, number one, first and foremost, prayers for the victims and their families, above all else. I want to thank our public safety officials, all the law enforcement people out here. This is proof of how good they are and the response they had and what they're doing. And to the thugs who did this, we're going to catch you. Okay, we're not going to have this in Baton Rouge. It's not going to happen. And I have complete confidence in our law enforcement partners that we're going to go out and grab these guys and get them off the street. Thank you.
Mayor, if we may, look, we just had a major domestic mass shooting in Shreveport, made national news. Now we're looking at this. People that are scared, what do you say to them today?
Well, I think people at the end of the day have the right to be concerned, about it. And sometimes the devil lives everywhere. And this is one of those situations, no matter how much law enforcement you got or social programs or whatever, if someone gets in their mind that they're going to do something like this, they're going to do it. And then sometimes all we can do is respond. I just want the public to know that we got the finest, whether it's medical, law enforcement, all our agencies are the finest in the country to respond to these things.
No, that's it.
Let me add one thing, please. Definitely thank you to all our agencies that are here offering all the resources that we need. Second thing, anybody in the community that has videos, cell phones are everywhere. So if you have cell phone video that you might be thinking interest, please reach out to us. We have links that we can send you where you can send us those cell phone videos anonymously, and you can remain anonymous, give us those cell phone videos. Thank you all very much, and we'll update y'all again as soon as we get more information.
Thank you all.
That was Chief Morse.
Chief, any fatalities at the scene you can say?
Not right now.
Not right now.
Speaking with us about the shooting.
Not right now, no fatalities. Not right now that I can't see.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know if we're still up here, but you heard him there. No fatalities reported at the scene, at least at this time. And again, we bumped up that victim number from 6 to 10. And they couldn't confirm how many are critically injured, but multiple are undergoing trauma surgery right now. So you heard all that, and we'll work to bring you more. Reporting live outside the Mall of Louisiana, Liam Combs, WFB 9 News.
Hey. Liam, have you had an opportunity to speak to any of the customers, workers out there on the scene? Have they been able to tell you what it was like inside the mall when shots rang out?
Yeah, Tisha. So you heard it there from the chief. One of those victims was unintended. So they just said two groups were shooting at each other, and multiple of those victims were unintended victims. The bullets flew, and other people were hit that were not intended to be hit. And I did talk to one woman outside, visibly distraught. I went up to her, and she said she's actually a caretaker for a patient with mental disabilities. They were there at the mall together, and he was shot. And so you just can't even imagine what that situation's like. You go to the mall, you're sitting down having food at the food court, and then shots ring out like this. It's something that's going to sit with you, and obviously many people are here shaken today. You've seen the mayor shaken, you've seen the chief shaken. It is, and we just talked about it. We just had this mass shooting, domestic. It's a different situation, but in North Louisiana and Shreveport, and now we have this 10 victims shot. And it shocks the conscious, and it's hard to put to words the emotions that are going around from everyone here today.
But Mike, I had a quick question for you. I know that we were told that.
Go ahead, Neil.
I was a unification area. Were you able to make it there to see what that looked like? And if you did, describe how that looked.
Watch what magnesium does to your bowels.
If you have to wipe more than 4 times after you poop, here's why.
Yeah, so that's at AMC Theaters. We have actually not been able to make it there yet. It seems like, this blockade where we're at right now is pretty much the closest we're able to get. We did have another crew that was working to get over there, but it seems like the perimeter keeps on getting wider around the Mall of Louisiana. So we have not been able to get there yet, but we are working on that. If we do, we'll bring you live updates there.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially in a situation like this, because as they continue to investigate, their scene could grow larger, and so that seems to be the situation here.
One more thing before we let you go, Liam. They had talked about the police chief asking for video, asking for people to call Crime Stoppers. If you could elaborate a little bit about what it's like on the ground there as they continue to search for these suspects.
Absolutely, Tisha. I mean, we live in the digital age, right? Everyone is filming at all times. You have security camera footage. That's how they kind of found out a lot of this information. And so, from what I'm seeing on the ground here, it's just absolute mayhem. People were running out as we got here on the scene. They were still setting up the perimeter. It seems like when we just got here, those victims were being removed from the mall. And so it was just pandemonium. I mean, you can't even imagine being inside the mall, hearing those shots ring out and fearing for your life. You're waiting to come pick up your loved one from the mall, and they are inside. You don't know if they're okay or not. I've talked to multiple people in those situations. I talked to a guy who was meeting his wife here and trying to call her. There's horrible cell service right now. It's just absolute chaos, and you can't even again, it's hard to put into words the emotions. I'm just trying to stay logical and get all the facts I can, but talking to people today, it's just everyone's just trying to get home, get safe, and I guess we're going to deal with the emotions later. It's just a chaotic situation, and we're working to learn more.
Yeah, and most likely the reason why the cell service there is so shoddy or not the best is because probably everyone's trying to get on their phones to talk to their loved ones to let them know that they are okay. So that's the situation there.
All right, Liam Combs live for us at the Mall of Louisiana. We will check back with you again as the investigation continues. Liam, thank you.
One thing I wanted to share is that the FBI released a statement, and I'm going to just read this off my phone. It says the FBI is aware of and is responding to an incident at the Mall of Louisiana with our partners. We ask the public to stay away from the area at this time. That last sentence I read there, that's been the whole thing that everyone has been saying. If you don't need to be there, if you don't have a loved one